breathing through your mouth actually makes you dumber as well, right? So
Dumber.
dumber, yes, your IQ, they done a study in Japan and find out that you're actually slower, right? I think that you guys call people mouth breathers. They're a little bit slower as well.
Back, and we're going to be talking now with Michael Sluka about a book that he's read and he lives by, and that is a book called Breathe by James Nestor. Michael, what's the big deal with breathing? We hear about Wim Hof, we hear, about
Yeah,
how
yeah.
important it is. What's the deal
Oh,
with breathing?
Josh, it's a great question. So this is the book. It's The Lost Art of Breathing, and I was amazed with what I've learned from this book, and I would suggest everyone to read it. So to give you an idea, so essentially his story is that he had a lot of problems as a child, always had, some congestions, bronchitis, couldn't breathe through his nose, so he was a mouth breather, and all of these things that comes with it, right? So breathing through your mouth actually makes you dumber as well, right? So
Dumber.
dumber, yes, your IQ, they done a study in Japan and find out that you're actually slower, right? I think that you guys call people mouth breathers. They're a little bit slower. So let's go into, what it costs. And this, I think, this is the biggest problem with the breathing. And if you're not breathing properly, and that's why when you look at the Buddhist monks, that's one of the first lessons, right? They spend so much time to and all these techniques, and we're not going to get into all of that, but that is so important because that's the only thing you can control, and that's the one thing you'll have all the time, right? So like your last breath is the what is going to determine if you're still living or not, right? And so if you look at it, we don't really learn even how to breathe properly, right? So a lot of us get some congestions and we start breathing through our mouth and it just triggers everything, right? So from your teeth being crooked, right? Because we are not chewing as we used to, right? All the food is cooked, is soft, so our mouth is not developing properly, so it's much smaller. That's why we have all the teeth cramped in there, and that is triggering the fact that now you don't have enough room for your nasal pathways to have a proper room for you to do the breathing through your nose, right? So a lot of people have problems with that, and that is increasing, the all of the problems coming out of it. So let's start what we have. So you can have facial pain and headaches out of that. Your posture and body alignment can change. You'll have the people that have their head forward, dry mouth, and all of that, dental and facial abnormalities. Actually, they've done studies, and as bad as it sounds, he's describing in his book that they would plug up their noses of monkeys, and their faces would change, like literally would just crazy stuff. Then they remove them and they change back. But that's what you can tell, right? You can see some people there have kind of bigger nose, smaller chin, and everything, and that
And that's
is
all
all
from mouth breathing.
yes, yes, and they've that, and that's why this is once you start become mouth breather, it's encourages it, right? Because all your soft tissues in there get softer and it clogs up your pathways. So once you start mouth breathing, it's just encouraging more of the mouth breathing. And once you start inhaling through your nose, it'll again start getting better because you're making everything stronger. Everything is better in your nose, and the pathways are opening up because you're using them properly, right? So it tightens up. So I really became aware of it, and the biggest one that really surprised me, and I've started understanding a lot of it. Obviously, when you're breathing, you're detoxifying as well, but most importantly is that there are two systems, right? And it's your sympathetic system, nervous system, which helps. That's your fight response, right? So if you're breathing through your mouth, you're triggering that because your body is now switching to fight or flight response. And that is meaning that it's producing a lot of hormones to stimulate you for the fight, right? Or to run, to escape
Hmm.
the danger. And now, Josh, like I don't know about you, but we're constantly under stress, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
So not just that, but when you're breathing through your mouth, you're telling your body you're in the stress, right? So now it's creating all these hormones to fight that and get you ready for that. It's taking all the blood from all the organs and everything, putting into your muscles because it's getting ready for action. So we never relax. And now all your organs stop communicating with the brain because they don't have a proper flow of blood and everything.
Right.
And that is now creating more anxiety. And there's really, it's a kind of vicious cycle, right? Because you're never relaxed because you can't switch, right? Like you shouldn't be long term under stress, and then we have all these problems, autoimmune diseases, high blood pressure. And he's actually describing where they did some testing on him and plugged his nose for, I think it was 2 weeks, and his, the sleep apnea that he had and snoring went up to like 4,000% in like such a short, like it wasn't, matters of month, it was days. He was almost
Hmm.
describing every time he would take a breath, he felt like it's getting worse. Like he had super high blood pressure, and you can read all the details. The other thing is that when you breathing through your mouth, you're not creating the nitric oxide, which is super important for you. And also it helps you to absorb like 18% or more of the oxygen, right? And it's got so many other benefits. Actually, is supporting your immune system functions as well, right? So there is so much that you can really learn from breathing through through properly. And so one of the things I implemented from this book is I actually will tape my mouth when I go before I go to sleep, so I'm not breathing through my mouth.
That's so. And so, what kind of tape do you use?
So just a regular tape, and I put a little piece just to on my lip just to keep it shut. And it's been interesting because I've definitely noticed that before I didn't have a good night's sleep, right? Because basically when you breathing through your mouth, and sometimes you sort of choke, right? That's the sleep apnea factor, and you're not breathing properly. It's like your oxygen levels go below like 90%, and your body then pushes you to wake up because you need to start breathing again, right? Otherwise
Mhm.
you'd almost die. So it was very, like, I feel like since I've been doing that, I don't need as much sleep. And I was snoring, I know that, right? And so I was breathing through my mouth, and I start changing it, and I feel like in the morning I actually wake up before the alarm. I don't have to sleep as long. So I've been doing it for maybe a month and a half and seeing some big improvements.
Oh, that's excellent. Yeah, that's so when you're like, do you ever use a breathing strip? So you can get those like nasal breathing strips. Do you ever?
No, 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 no. I haven't used that, but I've been really, like, for me, it's just I don't think I can breathe through my nose, but at night, just for some whatever reason, I would, but like if I like to sleep on my back, so somehow you just open your mouth and you start snoring and breathing through your mouth, right? So
Mhm.
this just helps me to keep it shut. And like once you start breathing through your mouth, not just like, you're not now filtering all the air, right? You're getting more toxins in there and everything. You're not creating the nitric oxide, right? Which is
Mhm.
now your oxygen's not being absorbed properly. So all of this is contributing to you not having a good night's sleep, right? Not rejuvenating and probably not being rested in the morning.
Right. Right. Do you have any tools? Is there any tricks that you do or any practices that you do
Just,
to
just tape
make?
your mouth.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
it's so here
What about in
he
the
goes.
morning?
Yeah, so he goes into all these different types of breathing, and like the Tumo, which is the original Buddhist monks, when they would go into a cave, and they would wrap themselves in this wet sheet, and they could create a heat and survive in freezing temperatures, which normally you would have hypothermia. And that's exactly what the Wim Hof method is, right? So he's using that and very successful, and that's why it's so popular, because he made it very simple. And but it comes from this, and he talks about that, and that's very important as well, because it helps you to open up your breathing. And you take, basically, and everyone's now talking about it, it's very popular. You do 3 sets of 30 breath, right?
Mm.
And every time after 30 breath, you exhale fully and you hold your breath for as long as you can. And then you take a full breath and you hold it and you kind of push it up to your head, right? With everything.
Right. Right. You do this daily?
Yes, every day, every morning I do that. And really, I think it helps you with many things. It helps to, balance your hormones and whatnot. And then I have a cold shower, or I'll go, you can go jump in a lake or whatever you want to do. But I think it's a good combination of cold, but you can just do your breathing. And I think it's very, very beneficial for your health as well, right? Because you're actually focusing on it, you're mindful about it, and you're increasing the oxygens in your body, which is eliminating diseases and things like that.
So how like is there a way to tell if you're a mouth breather or
Yeah, it's
um
by the look of your face.
what does my face tell you?
It doesn't look too bad, but you can. There's another book and that you can actually see shows how it looks, right? So if you kind of you have a big nose and all of this is small mouth, it seems like you're more likely mouth breather.
And so you've said your face can actually change shape over time,
Yes,
right? It's yeah.
yes, they've done these tests, and I mean they tried it on monkeys and they did it on in people too.
That's incredible. So have you noticed any benefit from taping your mouth shut and focusing on breathing through your nose?
Yes, so as I said, right? So I sleep better and like cognitively and everything. Like this is like what I think is just help me to relax too, right? So when you're really mindful and you're breathing through your nose, and the idea is to take full breath and fully exhale because
Okay, that's
we
yeah, that's big.
yeah,
So you're like getting rid of all that carbon dioxide in your
yeah, so now you're properly breathing and it should be as slow and steady. So when we are under stress, Josh, what do? How do you breathe?
shallow
Yeah,
quickly.
so you have all this trapped air in your lungs, right? So you're not using the full capacity. And most people, that's how they breathe. So they're using maybe like, I don't know, 50-40% of their lung.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So what is there
And
anything like throughout the day that you can do to
just to be mindful about breathing, right? Because I like even now, right, we're doing this and I'm seeing that I'm not breathing properly, right? So if you're cognitively like focusing on your breathing, and if you're in a stressful situation or whatever you're doing, you might catch yourself that you're like literally holding your breath for a long periods of time, right? Because you're focused on something and you're not paying attention to how you breathe.
Hmm. And do you find that after a period of time your body just starts to adjust to your new way of breathing, or are you always
Yeah,
having
so
to think about
that's
it?
the problem, right? So you start breathing shallow, and then that creates a response in your body. Hey, I'm under stress, right? And it causes all this avalanche of bad things happening. Your body, creating the hormones to get ready for a fight, putting all the blood out or taking the blood out of your organs and putting into your muscles so you can run faster and escape the danger. But guess what? That's not going to happen because I don't know, whatever that is. It could be, the piling bills, and that stress is not going away for, quite some time.
You can't run away from your bills?
Well, I don't know, try it. Right? So that is what I'm trying to explain is that the way you breathe is causing all these problems and anxiety and stress, right? Because we start breathing shallow and that's triggering all this cascade of effects and hormones being triggered. And then guess what? Like, because you don't have the proper flow of your blood in certain organs, now the brain is not communicating properly with your, some of the like adrenal gland or something. So now it's creating even more problems.
Right. Is there
So
a last bit of advice that you might have for
yeah,
people
I
like
would
should
say definitely read the book, and I think that it goes into a lot more details about the different type of breathing, and you can go with there's like a box breathing when you're count to four. He goes into like when you're like so when you're breathing in, so you'd be like counting to four. You hold it for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 4 seconds. You hold again, right? So very powerful exercise. I think it's one of some of the militaries doing it when they're in a stressful situation to stay calm and to be in control. So learn these techniques. I would say that a really good is to do the Wim Hof method, and he talks about that. There's different ways how if you already have a small mouth and you can breathe through your nose. There's surgeries and things that you can do, and they doing these almost like you have for your teeth. You have your braces. They can do that for your mouth and expand it even if you're older. Apparently, the bones in your mouth can grow in, and he had that done, and he talks about his experience. And he also, what is causing all of this is the way we eat, that we don't chew as much as we used to, right? Because now everyone's making shakes, and just everything is cooked and easy to eat, and we should be really chewing hard as we used to, because that helps to keep your mouth bigger, and opens up the pathways for your nose as well. So a lot of different things, and I would say that definitely become more aware of it, and just observe yourself when you're going through your day and how you're breathing.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, Michael, for sharing that. And that book again was called Breathe, right?
Yes, by James Nestor.
James Nestor.
The
Excellent.
New Science of Lost Art.
Well, it's stuff we take for granted, right? We just assume we all know how to breathe properly. But
Yeah, I mean, there's, you're alive and you're breathing, and he's basically the other thing I could add to it is just you don't want to be like there are details on how many breaths you take per minute, and ideally you would take a really full deep breath, and you would exhale very slowly. That's like the fewer breath you can take in a minute, in an hour, in a day, means you can extend your life, basically.
and you just extended ours today. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, if you implement it.
If you're interested in exploring more topics like today's or have suggestions for future discussions, we'd love to hear from you. So please leave a comment below. To find out where you stand in the three core areas of your life, health, wealth, and relationships, take our free assessment at liferocketuniversity.com. We will see you next time at the Life Rocket University Studios.